Welcome everyone. Welcome to E-Pathshala, and today we are going to deal with Gothic novels, that is, horror movies. Now many of you have watched it, but how many of you do you really know how to write it? So in this video we are going to deal with some tricks and tips how you can make your story really scary. So let's get started. So the objectives are for today's video is we will know what is Gothic fiction. We will learn about the basic elements of Gothic fiction or horror and suspense, suggested themes or plots, Gothic gadgets or props that can be used, kinds of character that you will find or you may incorporate in horror stories, and what are the preferable setting ideas. Where can you set your horror story? And lastly, but not the least, vocabulary. What is horror genre? Horror is a genre of fiction whose purpose is to create the feelings of fear, dread, repulsion, and terror in audience. Remember the time you saw Conjuring or The Nun. You remember the time you trembled, you shuddered, and you felt closing your eyes. You felt that screaming power in you. You felt that atmosphere that scared the very spine in you, the very core of you. So it is what horror does. Now, what are the basic elements of Gothic fiction? First and very foremost is mystery and fear. H.P. Lovecraft, a very celebrated Gothic fiction writer, said that the oldest and the strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown. Why do we fear the darkness so much? Because we don't know what is inside the dark room. What is inside that basement? What is inside the cave? What is inside that box hiding? So it is the fear of the unknown that makes us so scared. The work is pervaded by a threatening feeling, a fear enhanced by the unknown. Often the plot itself is built around a mystery such as unknown parentage or a disappearance or some kind of inexplicable event. Coming to atmosphere and setting. The action takes place in and around an old castle, sometimes seemingly abandoned, sometimes occupied. If you read The Red Room by A.G. Wells, you'll get the perfect example of a perfectly abandoned and horrific castle. The castle often contains secret passages, trap doors, secret rooms, dark or hidden staircases, and possibly ruined sections where no one visits. The castle may be near or connected to caves, which lend their own haunting flavor with their branchings, claustrophobia, and mystery. If you watch the movies, there are several movies has been made on this, so you can go and check them out. Now, coming to that of the setting ideas. Elaborating on the setting ideas, we get graveyards or cemeteries. Cemeteries are curious places, especially when you are young. Scary and thrilling, of course. They are filled with dead people. The house is as much as a character in a horror movie as the ghosts, zombies, psychos, and demons that haunt the hapless victims. From the house of the fall of the house of the usher to the house that dripped blood and the house on the haunted hill, the titles alone give away the centrality of the domestic setting to the plot. Presence of the supernatural or paranormal activities. No one can deny that once in your life you must have enjoyed a story that involved paranormal activities. dramatic, amazing events occur, such as ghosts or giants walking, or inanimate objects such as a suit of armor or a painting comes to life. In some works, the events are ultimately given a natural explanation, while in others, the events are truly supernatural. Imagine The Conjuring, The Nun, Annabelle, the doll that scared you so much at night. It is the presence of the supernatural or the devil. High, overwrought emotions. Put in high and overwrought emotions, such as characters screaming, shrieking, running, panting, breathless. The narration may be highly sentimental, and the characters are often overcome by anger, sorrow, surprise, and especially terror. Characters suffer from raw nerves and a feeling of impending doom. Crying and emotional speeches are frequent. Breathlessness and panic are common. In the filmed Gothic, screaming is very, very common. Coming to that of suggested themes. What are the themes or plots that you can choose for your own Gothic fiction? You can choose away ancestral curse or ancient prophecies. An ancient prophecy relates to the castle or its inhabitants, either former or present. The prophecy is usually obscure, partial, or confusing. What could it mean? In modern examples, this may amount to merely a legend. It is said that the ghost of old man Krebs still wanders these halls. The current generation suffers for evil deeds of ancestors. You can take the example of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of the Usher. Body snatching or grave robbing. Grave robbing, stealing corpses from graves, tombs, or morgues. Illicit trade in cadavers, violation of religious space, commercially motivated by science. A very brilliant example of it is Frankenstein. Though it is one of the first science fiction movies or books ever written, it is also considered to be a Gothic fiction, because in 1818 it was written by Mary Shelley, that tells the story of a young scientist, Victor Frankenstein, who creates a hideous sapient creature in an unorthodox scientific experiment. Next comes transformation of metamorphosis. If you've ever come across Dr. R.L. Stevenson's story of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you will exactly know what is meant by transformation or metamorphosis. A striking change in appearance, a change in the form or function of an organism by a natural or unnatural process. A perfectly good human being transforms into a demon at night, or haunts the places or dark alleys of the city. You can take the example of the Victorian England, and you can perfectly get along with the story. Necromancy. It's very fascinating that necromancy is a thing that has magic involved in it, and it is so variously used in Gothic novels. Necromancy, of course, is a practice of magic involving communication with the dead. Planchets, calling the dead spirits, either by summoning their spirits as apparitions, visions, or raising them boldly for the purpose of divination, imparting the means to foretell future events, discover hidden knowledge to bring someone back from the dead, or to use the dead as a weapon. Sometimes referred to as death magic or the dark magic, the term may also sometimes be used in a more general sense to refer to black magic or witchcraft. You can take the example of W. Jacobs' The Monkey's Paw, which is a horrific, a tremendous example of necromancy. Gothic gadgets, or as I promised, props. What are the things that you can use? Now you can remember the time you saw in Harry Potter the portrait singing. But if that would have been in your house, will that be that normal? I don't think so. Supernatural props like vocal and mobile portraits, animated statues and skeletons, doors, gates, portals, hatchways which open and close independently, secret passages, secret messages and manuscripts, forbidden chambers and sealed compartments, casket lids seen to rise and go down. So there are many things that you have watched, that you have read, and these can come really handy while writing a Gothic fiction. Lastly, vocabulary. Now, don't undermine the power of a good vocabulary. The vocabulary of the Gothic. The constant use of appropriate vocabulary sets or creates the atmosphere of the Gothic. Using the right words maintains the dark and stimulated feel that defines the Gothic. Here is an example of some of the words and general categories that help make up the vocabulary of the Gothic in The Castle of Otranto, one of the first Gothic novels ever written. For mystery, these are the words that you can use, like ominous, enchantment, prophecy, talisman, portent, sorcerer, spirits, haunted, infernal. Coming to that of the fear and terror or sorrow related vocabulary: afflicted, agony, anguish, despair, dismay, dread, hopeless, miserable, sympathy, tears, terrible, terrified, unhappy, wretched, anxious, breathless, flight, frantic, impetuosity, precipitately, running, sudden, suddenly. Everything gives away to horror. Everything. Thank you so much for being a patient listener. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel, like this and comment what did you like and how did it help you. Till then, see you next time. Bye bye.